What's up, Profitable Stylist? We've got a great conversation to be had today. We're going over different hair extension methods for thin hair and fine hair. Thank you for buying Bernardo coffee last week, everybody. He's happy today.
Yeah, I had to drink water last week.
Yeah, you had to drink water last week. So the different kinds of methods, what do we got? Tape-in extensions, sew-in extensions, bonded extensions, weave extensions, wigs, hair replacements. What other kind of systems am I missing?
Beads, string, glue, nail gun. There's a lot of techniques out there. Yeah, so you know what we haven't talked about in a very long time when it comes to extensions, and I think this is the thing that everything we talk about today is going to kind of hinge on. Tension versus non-tension. That used to be big back in the day because way back when the only extension available to the whole world was Wefts. Now people called them weaves, they called them tracks, they called them all kind of things. Oh, it was a weft, but the thing you put on the head was a track, and then you put the weft on the track or the cable or the weave or the braid or the cornrow braid. And when you did that braid on the head or that tying method, there was a lot of tying and needles and thread and knots, and it was a lot of tension. Then you put the weft on the track and sew it on again and add even more tension, and I did them. So I remember we used to recommend people take some kind of headache medicine because you were going to have a headache, and we undersold them like, this is what the celebrities are doing. It's the only way to do it. But if you want more hair, it's going to be painful. Ready to do it? And they would still do it. And we made a lot of money doing it. But when the techniques came out where we could do individual strands, oh my goodness, it was away from the head a little bit, a little more free flowing. There was no pain on the head unless you did it wrong. Then the amount of hair, the angle, the tension, all this stuff came into play. And then we had to be engineers to get the hair extensions right. So then people would say, why are some of my customers doing good, some are not? Mm-hmm. So the topic is kind of hair extensions for thin hair. And that's where the challenges came. It didn't matter what kind of extension you used. If you didn't use the right techniques, the right angles, the right amount of hair to support, some techniques don't lend to the fact or to the possibility of caring about those things. And that's what I'd like to go into today, is talking about all the techniques and how they affect thin hair.
Let me ask you a question. We talk a lot. I was in a salon last weekend, and it became a big joke. I was doing hair extensions for somebody who had fine hair and thin hair. And I kept saying, oh, your hair is very fluffy. Your hair is very light. Your hair. and they were just laughing because they're like, oh, soft language. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for not calling out the fact that I've got no hair.
Kind of bald.
But then one of the other stylists, because I kept saying, well, okay, fine. Then if we're just saying it, you've got thin, fine hair. And she goes, well, isn't that the same thing? Thin hair, fine hair? I'm like, they're actually two different things. You can have thin hair and have it be thick. It doesn't have to be fine.
Or coarse, right. So it's a definition of the word. And it doesn't matter what word you necessarily use. And that plays into consultations. I mean, when somebody says, I have blah, 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 you'll have to define that a little bit more. It's kind of like I don't want golden orange hair. What is gold to you? What is orange to you? What is brass to you? So, right. I mean, we might use the wrong words a little bit here too sometimes because we get caught up in language. But you're right. There's two things to think about. How many hairs are on the head?
That's density.
Yep. How close together, how far apart they are. If you have two hairs on your head, that's low density. But then you might have still those two hairs might be really big, thick, coarse hairs.
And that's texture.
Or they might be fine, thin hair. But then some people would say texture is curl. You know what I'm saying? Straight, wavy, curly.
So its marketing has evolved over time, and different words. The base words for things like, okay, so you say texture equals curl, and if I say to you I've got normal hair, that equals straight. It just has become
Does it?
synonymous with weird things, you know?
Right. So the thing that was funny to me is this new hand-tied hair extensions. Is it good for fine hair? Is it? Is it good for natural hair? What is natural hair? Does it affect hair growth? Because some people will say extensions make my hair grow faster. Some people say extensions stop my hair from growing. It really, is all of this true? I do have some opinions about this. Some people think hair extensions hanging on your hair pull the hair out of your head faster. And I just don't believe that's true. But the crazy thing, tiny bit of history of hand-tied hair extensions, they are not new. They are older than the Wefts I used 30 years ago. When I started talking to the manufacturer about the beaded extensions that we started carrying not too long ago, I asked him about hand-tied. He's from Singapore, originally from China. He's in his 80s, so he's been making hair his whole life. And he said, why would you want hand-tied extensions? I said, well, I'm not saying I want it. I just want to understand it better because everybody seems to want it. He said, no, hand-tied extensions are very old and were hand-tied by the very poor community villages that couldn't afford the machines to make the better wefts, which were machine-made. And I said, well, why would you call it better? He said, because hand-tied, first of all, they're very, very thin and fragile. And if you cut them to customize the size, they fall apart and unravel. The advancement was the machine-made, because handmade was so fine and thin, people were putting 2 and 3 on top of each other to make it thick. I love that Americans can take anything old, make it new, and then just market it, and then people just believe it. I believed it to a certain degree. I'm like, what are these new natural beaded rose? It sounds so beautiful, natural,
right?
Beaded. And then the one, I don't know who copied off of who, but then you got the waterfall beaded rose. Waterfall beaded rose, I don't know. The rumor is they suing each other. One made a technique up first, the other one copied. But you got to give it to both of them. The freaking name. I love waterfalls. I do. But you don't want that in the hair. It means terrible tension, terrible direction. It means pain. And then natural beaded rose? There is nothing natural.
There is no such thing as natural.
There's not much natural about our business, right? There's a natural hair trend. And it's mostly in the black community. A lot of girls are going back to their natural hair, but in the white community, there's very few people that want natural hair. They want highlights, lowlights, a different color, cover my gray. It's very, very few that the natural trend is a big part of. So I don't know. I think we should stick with what's good for thin hair. Something that I don't want to be tagged for officially making this list, but I want you to kind of help make it with me. My business partner asked me, if you were to say which extensions are the best or the worst, I don't know which end we should start on, for thin hair. I thought, that would be kind of neat to kind of list them out. I want to put a disclaimer up that we may along the way go, whoops, we want to fit this one in here. But just really quickly, I want to say, in my opinion, the worst extensions for thin hair. Should I say it first, or you want to say?
No, go ahead. You can say it first.
I would say, God, and it's not because I hate natural beaded rose, but I would say natural beaded rose, not because they're natural, but basically sewn in or tied in wefts are the most damaging because you've got that tension on the head. The old-fashioned braided was worse. Now they're putting beads in every inch or two and putting string, and you see the hairs cocked to the side. They're putting the beads in where it's pulling hair off the way it wants to grow, causing tension and potentially pain before they sew the hair in. And so we got that tension extension, and then you got this big, long, heavy weft on there, especially if it's done a little wrong, not enough hair to support, and they stack 4 or 5 wefts on there. You added so much weight to that rope. That's got to be the worst for thin hair, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you actually, we went really deep into detail a while back talking about each individual system, the pros and cons of each individual system, and talking about hair extensions for thin hair and fine hair today. This is a very specific, that's why you're saying your disclaimer the way you are, because today's topic is a very specific type of hair, thin hair and fine hair, and the extensions. So Weft, before everybody starts blowing up comments and saying, hey, you're saying, Wefts suck. No, we're not saying Wefts suck. We're just saying, is it, with all the other methods that are available out there, right? Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. I don't think that is the greatest option to go with.
There are new wefts that go in with a bead that hangs a tiny bit away from the base of the scalp, so it gives that free-flowing movement. So there are techniques out there.
So those are more machine wefts that are like the flat beaded wefts or beaded flat wefts, all of those techniques.
Yeah. And listen, I want to make sure you don't give away the best answer real quick. I know people can just fast forward on YouTube, but if they're watching this live, I want them to hear what our opinion about the best extensions for thin hair is towards the end. So don't give it away just yet. I mean, this is...
Well, we're starting from the bottom. We're going up.
Yeah, we started from the bottom.
So I'm going to throw tape-ins in there as being bad for fine hair. It's a thing where...
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a stupid... I'm so sorry to cut you off. I'm super passionate about these two. Then I'll let you talk for a while. But it drives me freaking crazy. Tape-ins. Who started this rumor that tape-ins are the best extensions for thin hair?
That's what drives me crazy.
I used to say it was the worst till beaded, I'm not beaded rose, but natural beaded rose, till the tied-in wefts, till those came back in style, and then people started saying those were amazing for thin hair. You go to that natural beaded row forum or YouTube, look at the comments. People are complaining, saying it's breaking my hair off. She won't answer me. She won't deal with me. She won't redo my hair. She won't refund me. I'm like, I love reading the comments. It's definitely a technique that can work for some people. I thought about it myself. I've even tried it. But it's very hard to be non-damaging when you're tugging on the hair. And tape-ins are just too much hair and too small of a section to put on fine hair. Tape-ins are fine. But you know what it is hairdressers are looking for the fast, easy way. Not all, but too many are looking for the fast, easy, lazy route. And tape-in and natural beaded rows are not that fast. So I don't know why that's gained popularity.
I think there was this big push to reusable hair.
Yeah, there you go.
You
said it.
Yeah, there was this big push. There was this big trend. I say this a lot in my classes all the time. Don't believe marketing BS.
Everybody's gonna, though.
Everybody's gonna go for it, right? But marketing came out real strong, real heavy. They were throwing millions of dollars at it, saying, oh, you get to buy the hair, and then you get to use the hair, and it's your hair, and, whoop-de-freaking-do. Because it's a bunch of crap. With the thing, what you got to be careful about. Okay, so let's just say you want to use tape-in extensions. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Use them. There's a product out there for everybody,
and a time and a place for everything.
For everybody, right? With tape-in extensions specifically, you have to. Okay, so the extension comes with a piece of adhesive over it. You put that onto the hair. Now on thin and or fine hair, there isn't enough strands to support that width of adhesive. Now you got to go to tear it off. I actually just had this consultation on the phone with somebody a couple of days ago. She's lost some hair, she's on medication, she's lost some hair. She's thinking she wants to go with the tape-ins. I'm saying, listen to me, that's actually the worst idea because your body is still adjusting to the meds. You're in the shedding phase right now.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And your cuticle is thinning out. Now you're gonna put this adhesive over it, and then you're gonna go tear that off. You're gonna be peeling off a layer of cuticle.
You're doing it wrong. You shouldn't tear it off.
By the time you get through the fourth or fifth sandwich, you're like, I'm over this. Okay.
So you reminded me of something with tape-ins. Like if that's the tape and you're putting the hair on there, if you put too much hair, before you put the other piece of tape on, the two pieces of tape can't even touch each other. So if you put the right amount of hair to support the weight, the tape can't even touch each other because there's so much hair in between there that they just flop open. That's the challenge with tape ends. You literally have to, I feel like it's best to do it this way. You literally have to put so few strands in there so there's space between the hairs. That's the challenge with tape ends. You can't put enough hair. You can't choose to put enough hair. So you're going to definitely have too little hair. Now, there's a couple of companies out there that do that one tape in with the backer piece that doesn't have hair on it.
Oh, yeah.
At least you're not doubling up the weight of the hair. It's still challenging to get enough hair to support the weight, but you're not, and then there's that one company out there that does the heated tape ins where you're like, what company is that? That's us, guys. A little disclaimer. We do sell a tape in through She Hair that is a little different. And I mean, when you can put enough hair in there, you literally can. You can put the two together and they can flop apart for just a minute because you come in there with that little flat iron. You heat it up and you push heat through there and it seals to all the hairs and then it doesn't come apart. I mean, but you know what it is then? It's not a fast, easy tape in. And so it was never super popular, but it really is the best tape in if you're going to do a tape in.
Still, I would, in all fairness, say be careful if you're going to be trying to do it on thin hair or on fine hair.
Yeah. I still wouldn't agree that it's good for thin hair. It's just better than all the other tape ins out there. And not just because I sell it. I actually started selling it because I got to use it way back when hair shows were actually still a thing. And
so
COVID
now, what about one up from there, micropigmentation and or transplants and surgeries?
What about them?
I mean, does micropigmentation really thicken? It gives the illusion that you have thickened up, but it's not physically adding more hair.
No, it's not.
So again, this sounds like we're bashing everything, but we're not.
No, because I've used a lot of tape ins on medium to thicker hair. I did tons of wefts back in the day, but when Natural Beaded Rose came out, I had been doing hair longer than the people that started doing Natural Beaded Rose, so I looked at it a little differently. And I'm like, well, that's just a weft. And that weft, when you separate the hairs, has those little short return hairs that usually cause tangling, itching, poking the person's head. I just didn't like that. So I said, you know what? This is fascinating. A bead wasn't around when the first weft was. So then people reinvent the weft and they try to add a bead to it. I thought, what a great idea. Let's see if we can do it better. And that's where our beaded strands and our beaded wefts came into play. It was totally different, revolutionary. I talked to a girl in New Jersey yesterday. She watched all 3 of the training videos before she got the kit. And she's like, oh my God, this is going to be huge. I said, I know. It really is. It hasn't totally taken off yet. I mean, we're selling a lot of it. A lot of people are doing it. But it's not like as big as some of the biggest hair extension companies out there. It's fast. It's easy. It's reusable. It covers all the things that hairdressers want as far as ease of use. But what I love most about it is you can choose the amount of hair that comes through the bead. And I'm talking about it because it is actually next on my list.
Okay.
The beaded wefts would be the next best moving towards what's good for thin hair. But I really think a beaded strand is a little bit better than a beaded weft because I get a little worried about so much hair hanging from these little anchor points. So we actually use a little bigger. It's still a very small bead. We use a micro bead and a small bead for our strands and our wefts. And so the weft has a little bit bigger bead. Do you remember the size? Is it 3 millimeter?
1.5 millimeter and 2 millimeter.
So it's a 2 millimeter bead, very, very small bead. But I encourage you to pull as much hair as you can through that bead because that's the support you need. And that's where I think most people make a mistake. It's kind of like people who say, she's got a whole lot of hair, so I don't need much extensions.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite. So with this, it's the same thing. It's like she's got thin hair, so you don't need much extensions, but you do need much or a lot of hair coming through the bead. You need as much hair as you can because if a girl has thin hair, there's some things you're not thinking about. Maybe you are, but most people aren't thinking about, and I didn't for a long time. If a girl has thin hair or a guy, they're going through the shedding process faster also. So you need as much hair as you possibly can to support the weight in that bead because they're first don't have enough hairs per square inch density, and then they're going to lose some of those hairs faster than the average person. So then you also might need to talk about their hair care routine. That hair care routine now has to be more gentle because they have more weight on their hair, and they need to come in and get the extensions taken out and put back in more often because they're going to be shedding some hair that was holding the extension. So that's going to be what I would put next in order. We went from tape-ins to beaded weft to beaded strands. That next one's going to be our number one.
One of the things you have to keep in mind, what's happening with thin hair, yeah? When you've got that square inch, when you've got that area where the thin hair has to fill in, it's falling, it's following always natural fall. And I think one of the biggest mistakes with extensions that is made, yes, for thin hair, for fine hair, but even for medium hair, density, texture, thick, curly, straight, it doesn't matter. I think one of the biggest mistakes that is made is that we don't follow the natural fall and we start borrowing hair from the sections from the sides next to it.
Right.
Like when you're pulling in the pattern there. Each one of those sections, each one of those squares is representing where a bond should live, or where a weft should live, or where a strand should live, a tape-in, a sew-in, a beaded, all of the different methods that are out there. When you start pulling in from the sides, you're creating that tension points. The center is taut.
And some people pull from too low.
And then they start pulling from too low. That's that waterfalling. Yeah.
That waterfall. Beautiful word. You just don't want it in your hair.
So that's the whole thing. What we always have to keep in mind, no matter what method that we're doing, all of these things that we've been talking up until right now are all the reusable methods.
That's true.
I want to reiterate, reusable doesn't mean forever.
No, it doesn't mean forever, and it don't mean forever. It doesn't mean either one.
I hate you so much.
It does not.
You have to replace them. I can't say how many times I've seen some ratted, janky looking, the track where the hair is sewn into is all beat up. The adhesive themselves is all falling apart and melting apart. Reusable hair, in my opinion, should be replaced by about the third visit. What do you think?
Right. It depends on the quality of the hair, how hard they are on it, their hair care routine, how their hair growth goes, how fast or slow their hair grows. Right. There's a lot of things that come into play. Now, listen, hair is hair. That's what some people think. Hair is not hair.
But it's not.
Hair coming off, when it comes off the donor, it's always a different quality. Sometimes it's better than others. And so then if you get the light hair, most donated hair is dark in the world. So when you get light hair, it's going to already have been processed a little more than average. So it's not going to last as long as most dark hair. So a lot of little nuances to think about. And where we're going to move into what I think is the number one best hair, and I'll give you my opinion why, for thin hair, is a keratin bond. Now, of course, I love she hair keratin bonds, but there's a lot of them out there. I mean, Great Lengths is a good keratin bond. Mm-hmm. I know they've got, I don't know, Dream Catchers. What's some other names? There's a couple of them with the dream word in it. There was His and Hers back in the day.
Yeah.
There was Hot Heads. Do they have a keratin bond?
Hair Dreams. That's what they're called.
Hair Dreams.
I always mix the two up.
Dream and a Dream Catchers, I believe. So there's a lot of different names. Even On Right, Hair Visions, IHI, International Hair Goods. A lot of those companies dabble in new concepts, new image. A lot of these companies dabble in a keratin bond also. Easy Hair. There's an Easy Hair Pro. John Renault, I think it's his son who supports it, that has that company over in California. A lot of these companies have a keratin bond. I know, love the she hair bond. I came out of using Great Lengths for about 7 years before she hair came to this country, and oh my God, just the color selection. So many things were good, and then better about them than Great Lengths. But without really going into one particular brand, a keratin bond, it's the Cadillac of extensions. It really is. Oh, you can't reuse the hair. I know, that's true. Mm-hmm. But some people, money doesn't matter. They want the best for a reason. You're going to get the best hair the best performance, the most comfortable. It's going to stay on your head longer. The average head of keratin bonds, first of all, you can pick the amount of hair in depth and width to put in that keratin bond. You can take the keratin bond, you can split it in half, and thirds, and fourths if you need to. Micro bonds, you can do a full bond. You can choose the amount of hair that's being hung from that one little section. And then if there's an area of the head that's finer or thinner compared to another, you can monitor it, and you can take those out sooner and replace them and leave these in. You don't have to take the whole thing out because it's not all connected. There's so much versatility with a keratin bond, so much customization, and and people say, but you can't reuse it. I get that, but it is still the best. It costs more money, but some people want that Rolls Royce of the car industry. I want the Cybertruck by Elon Musk myself when it comes out, and I don't care what it costs. I'm going to try to get it. I want that thing to be self-driving and take me wherever I want so I can be texting you and then arrive or take a nap, Anyway, why do you love keratin bonds?
Say it all? When it comes to fine hair, okay, so we talked about thin hair and the density, and how much space it takes up. Now, the hair that exists, fine hair, that means that cuticle, that cortex, the strand of hair, the physical strand of hair itself is not growing out in the full, like if there's this much space for it to grow out, it's only growing out in half the amount or something, right? That is right. Fine hair. For whatever reason, the follicle has weakened where it's not producing the full amount of keratin for the hair strand to push out, okay? So now, when you've got that fine hair, it cannot support a lot of weight in natural fall, especially in free fall. The problem with extensions is not in the beginning when you first put it in. The problem with extensions is fast forward 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, when now you're a half an inch to an inch off the head, you're in free fall there. That's where gravity starts taking over now. So the more problems you can solve up front, the better off you're going to be in the long run. Why I love keratin bonds, individual strand by strand extensions, is because for the same reasons of what you're talking about, you can cut the bonds and make them smaller. You can even split the bonds in half and make them micro. You can fully customize the size to exactly match the section of hair that you're applying it to. Now, whether you're doing that as a roll or whether you're doing it as a flat wrap method.
Oh, that's what I was going to bring up. You can do round bonds, flat bonds.
Right? You're going to mimic the exact. So if you take this much section, you're going to apply that extension to match that much section.
Right.
Now you're going to be in free fall, natural fall.
What I like about that, and I'm going to do it a little bit bigger. If you think about a keratin extension, you take a section that's this wide and you put a keratin bond in right there and you heat it up and it spreads a little. You can decide, which I don't like, to roll it. Just roll it real quick. That's the way most people do keratin bonds and still teach it. But you took that section like that and you pulled it into a round bond, and then you expect that hair to it just is. Flare back out because of its fullness. So you've got this little bit of an unnatural look. So now I'm nitpicking even keratin bonds. I mean, that's still better than everything else we listed here today. I'm getting so passionate. I'm like right up in the camera, But the next best thing is, if we're going to nitpick keratin bonds, is a flat bond. Now, at first, I thought, oh my God, if we make it flat, those sides are going to be like razor blades. It's going to be sharp. It's going to cut into a person's head. It never does. I mean, sometimes what seems like something on paper isn't really true in real life. And so you take that section, like you just said, we put that keratin bond in there, we heat it up and it spreads, and we fold it. The hair, the section, everything stays at the right width. And so then it doesn't come together, flare out like a ponytail, and it blends so much better. And you must be reading something. You look like you went a little catatonic on me. You're like...
Yes, I fell asleep.
That's That's funny. Do we have comments or something you need to read?
Do you ever do one-on-one video chat or consult for people doing extensions at home? I just found your method of teaching the easiest to follow, and you answer a lot of detailed questions. Thanks. But that question is for Bernard. I don't count here.
So
that's what it says on the comment.
So is it? We don't know if that's a hairdresser or not, right?
Not sure if it's you. I'm not sure if you're a hairdresser. So what I will say is this: you can always contact us at our office, and you can get a hold of either one. Well, you want to get a hold of Bernard, but I mean, if you ever need second place, I mean, I'm available too. I guess
Yeah. So let me give you. I guess we could put it in the description.
In the description, yeah.
If you ever want more information about anything or get in contact with me, we'll put it in the description. But just a real quick, 985-781-5011 is our office number. We're in the New Orleans area in Louisiana. Slidell,
Chicago
Louisiana.
is 847-741-5000.
Okay. Oh, that's easier to remember. 5,000. So anyway, I know we get pretty passionate about the specifics of the technique. Since I'm doing that, I'm going to mention one more thing. Most of the companies that heat bonds up with that tool, that tool gets way too hot, hotter than most flat irons or curling irons. And the company we decided to kind of team up with 15 years ago was She Hair. And She Hair has the lowest heat in the market. So it made it even less damaging. I say less, no damage, because the heat, you probably even know better than me because you're like a nerd when it comes to specifics in this area. But the heat is so low that it's not even as hot as a flat iron or a curling iron. It does not burn or damage the hair when you're doing the She Hair keratin bond. But I did Great Lengths for a long time. That sucker gets really hot. We had that machine in the salon for a long time, and I burnt the heck out of my fingers. With the She Hair tool, I'm able to actually wipe the excess keratin off the tool like that and not burn my fingers. Mm-hmm. Do you know how hot it gets? Do you happen to know the temperatures?
Yes.
What are you doing?
As I'm pulling up Google over here. Yes.
Yeah. I just, the machine automatically comes on Celsius, so I know the Celsius
No,
numbers,
here's the difference. I know, okay, so our machine is, our machine is in Celsius, and we say to use approximately 130 to 140, like between 120 and 140 is what we say, right?
So I use 120 most of the time. So what's 120 in Celsius and Fahrenheit?
I'll have to look that up. I know 140, which is like the top of the tier of what because I know this because of class. 140, which is the top of what, everybody blasts the machine to the max temperature, right?
Yep.
140 degrees Celsius is 285, 284 or 285 Fahrenheit.
And most flat irons and curling irons are 400 and above.
Are 400. 150 degrees, which is the max temperature, is 302 Fahrenheit.
So barely over 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and you had mentioned hair's burning point at one point.
392. So we're like basically 100 degrees below the burning threshold.
Right. So then you add a piece of keratin in there, and the extension hair is absorbing some of that heat. You're never even getting close to burning hair off. So that's one of the reasons why I also like She Hair when we went with that lower. It wasn't always the lowest temperature. That was an advancement they made along the way. There's always increasing the advancements along the way. I think we've beat this topic to death.
Yeah, thank you, RJ. 120 degrees Celsius is 248 Fahrenheit. I was just Googling it over here, and he popped it in over there.
Well, that's what I use. I'm doing it at 248 degrees for you Americans on the imperial system.
So here's an interesting fact, too. If I can have my moment here. The boiling point of water is 212. So you're only 36 degrees over the boiling point of water. So you're retaining moisture in the natural hair that you're attaching the keratin bond to. So you're not killing the protein in the keratin either. The amino acids in the keratin that make up the protein, you're not burning those and melting. I hate it when people say we're melty extensions to the hair. They're just so disgusting to me.
Right.
That means you're using high heat. That's bad.
That's right. Right. And so I guess any time you make something from a hard to a soft state, it's melting in some people's eyes, but you're right. The technical terminology, it's not melting, and we're not melting the client's hair either. I think everybody knows. We offered a challenge in a YouTube video recently. I know we talked a little bit about it, but listen, guys, if you subscribe here or like, and you want to try to be a healthier person, watch our sleep video. Listen, my sleep, have you watched it, Eddie? My sleep video is actually me videoing the rain in my backyard with the woods line. It's pretty beautiful.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was my backyard, and it's just the sound of rain for like 8 hours, just because some people need a little noise to go to sleep. My wife had a friend stay over one time, and I'm like, what is that noise? And it's like the sleep machine. And like, it sounds like an air conditioning unit. A lot of people love sounds. My whole life, I like the peace and quiet. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood. But I know a lot of people grow up in louder, bigger cities, neighborhoods, and need some other drowning out noise to sleep to. So it's a popular thing on YouTube, bunch of different sounds and everything. So I did a rain video. And guys, try it to feel a little healthier by getting better sleep at night, getting to that deep REM sleep. We don't have time to go into great detail about it, but
my brother-in-law was actually Dom was actually explaining this to me, because I suffer from a very particular type of insomnia.
Really?
Yeah, and my younger sister and I, both of us have the same type of insomnia. And she's been to sleep clinics, we've been to therapies, we've done all kinds of things. He found this video that had like delta waves in it, and then you can go up to theta waves, and that'll help relax you down into a natural sleep, right? So compliment to you, your rain video puts me somewhere in between. I got your video tested. It puts me somewhere in between. So, your video actually helps me. So yes, I actually do use it. Thank you.
That's cool. It's nice to know. And you visited my house. You've seen my backyard. It's kind of cool.
I can only imagine how awesome it is when it's raining over there. That would be cool.
Yeah. Sit on the back porch and watch the rain on the rocking chair. I feel like an old man, but it's so freaking relaxing. And now we got the pool in, so the water hitting the water. Oh my God. It's nice, other than I can't swim during the rain because of the lightning and the thunder, but it is beautiful and relaxing.
Well, I mean, it would be an electrifying experience. You should try it.
Yeah. A lot of people around the world are commenting now and saying they're watching the video or listening to the video. Some people are watching it, but putting the light down kind of low and just listening through the night. And it's helping us with our channel also. So, I mean, it'll help us go into a profitable mode and get paid for what we're doing at some point. But I was going to go a little further.
Is that why you did that?
No, it's not why, but I mean, it was because it was needed.
You wanted to help me.
Oh, well, I want you to help me too.
All right, you're done. I'm done. I'm going back to work.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because this ain't paying. We got to make some money, dude.
Okay, so yes, we are going to use our own advice on how to become a 6-figure income hairstylist.
And go to work.
And we're going back to work.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you all. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to hear next. And we'll catch you all next week. Thank you.
Bye.